everybody. Welcome back to Art and Outdoor Life here with John. I'm hoping that you're having a great day, a great evening, a good morning, wherever you are and whatever time you're watching this video. I'm an aspiring artist, a beginner painter. I started 2 years ago in 2022, and I'm a seasoned musician. I've been playing music all my life, professionally. Anyways, I want to wish you a wonderful day and thank you for coming back, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Sincerely yours, John. Hello everybody, welcome back. So this is today's painting, and basically I'm watered down Payne's gray. You can use a dark color, any kind of color. You don't have to use Payne's gray. You can use any kind of blue or orange, whatever you want for your sky. I was just kind of playing with clouds in this painting and some other things. So there's my horizon line. And when I do these paintings, I always miss the paper. I always miss the paper with the spray bottle, just to get it a little bit wet, but not too wet, depending on how I feel. And in some cases, I don't wet the paper at all. So, yeah, I was just grabbing brushes, small round brushes, and I was dipping them into my dirty water. Yeah, I didn't use any clean water for this painting. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to paint whenever you feel like it. It's a wonderful expression to paint. And and at the end of your paintings, no matter what you're painting, it's always good. There's something about painting that is magical, okay? For example, like, great photographers, or just, from your phone or whatever, there's a million pixels, like, with a camera, right? But when we are painting, we're not looking at pixels in our paints, right? Of course, they show up on our TVs and our phones and everywhere else, but we're not really looking at that. So what I did was I added some blue mixed with white, and basically, I'm not really caring too much about what I'm doing here. Well, I kind of am. I mean, I'm going in between some of these spots here just to add a little bit of blue. And then with a little paper towel, I'm dabbing out some of the water, and also to create, the clouds. I wasn't looking for certain clouds at all. I was basically looking for a feeling, okay, kind of like an overcast day or something, and there's probably some green in there too, so now this color here is a very diluted, it's called olive green. It's very diluted, and now, if you're new at this, I don't always do it, but it's a really good idea to have a piece of paper on the side so that you can test your paintings, the colors and the tones of your paint and how strong they are and such, on a paper right next to you. And that's kind of what I did in this painting. I don't normally do that, but sometimes I do. So with a little bit more diluted Payne's Gray and the dirty water. Of course, I put the dirty water, and I with these hake brushes, they hold a lot of water. If you don't know, and I squeeze them. Sometimes, I squeeze them onto a paper towel. Sometimes I just push them really hard against, a washcloth, and it helps get rid of the excess water so that the water is not going to run everywhere. So, if you know me, I pretty much like to follow lines, okay? So, like coming up with this kind of pastel blue, which is pretty, I'm not a professional, but pastel type or pastel style color is basically your white mixed with whatever color you're using. So it gives it more of a cloudy, milky effect on the color. And that's what I did with the blue. But I normally, like, once I set a line, then I kind of I like to dress it up. I like to follow those lines, even though I might not even know where they're going, right? So I follow it just from imagination. I follow lines and patterns. And then from there, I figure out if I like it or not. And then I figure out, while I'm doing this, how I can try to change it up a little bit. And I'm using some raw sienna here, or raw umber, my apologies. And I'm using a little bit of burnt umber in this video. And I'm also using yellow ochre. And the blue is actually a cobalt blue mixed with some white. So just, this is today's painting. It was, I do these things from imagination. Pretty soon I'll be doing them from reference photos that I take on my own. But just, the whole idea about blending colors together, like as you see right here, I'm kind of going back and forth with the yellow and the brown up against some of that olive green. Now that color is actually called olive green. And just kind of feeling it out. I'm feeling it out. Like, does the warmth of the color feel good? How's the mood going? And always when I start painting, when I walk in here and I start painting, I'm always thinking about, okay, I have an idea. Okay, so for example, sometimes I'll say, okay, I want a mountain. Well, what kind of mountain? And there's some lemon yellow, or it's close to lemon yellow. But sometimes I'll be like, okay, I want a mountain with a snow cap. I want it to be cool. I want, the cool colors. I want it to be a wintry kind of mountain. Other times I want it to be a mountain to be, right from the mountain range during summertime, where most of the snow is melted off, and if it's in the southwest or somewhere, and so it's basically earth tone, and then I'll put a little bit of white on it, and to give it a little bit of snow on there. And that's kind of how I am when I'm, like, for example, right here, this is looking like in a prairie, or out in the meadow. It can be anything. You could, and I'm using these different brushes for different reasons, okay? I like using flat brushes. I like using the fan brush and Hake brush are my favorites. And then the flat brush. And you know, this is right from imagination. So I'm blending some browns in here, and I was thinking, okay, what if there was a tree that fell down? Okay. Now I didn't want to get too dark here, and I didn't want to use a whole lot of colors. Okay. So, being tornado season and everything here, I was thinking about, yeah, put a tree limb or part of a branch, a big branch that fell down, right? So, and this is a watered down version of raw umber that I'm using here. Or it's an umber, and then to create a tree, and then, kind of dabbing along here. And I'm looking at the sky, and I wasn't worried about clouds because clouds are very funny. They can be, clouds can be frustrating if you let it. You don't even need clouds in a painting. But I'm looking at it, and after I dabbed it and add some blue, and I'm sure there's a little bit of green in there, there's some Payne's gray in there, and such. And I like the background. That's kind of what I was aiming for. So now, just kind of putting in a little bit of background. Just shapes. It's all shapes. It's all shapes. And shapes, it's kind of interesting how shapes work, because shapes can, when we look at things, we see, like, we tend to try to figure out what we're looking at, okay? And we make up in our mind what it is. But when you're doing shapes, shapes can make it to where it gives an impression, it leaves it up to the viewer, whoever's looking at the painting. Shapes alone make it to where they leave it up to it's up to the viewer to decide what that is, whoever's watching it, and that's why I like shapes. One of the reasons. The other reason why I like shapes is because shapes guide me. They take me, and like colors do. Colors influence my paintings. It's all about mood. It's about, everything. And I love using this, plastic card. Sometimes I use guitar picks. I use my fingers a lot. I like to put my finger and feel the paint. But shapes are very important, because they don't have to be a certain kind of shape if you don't want it to be. You could just kind of fool around, and shapes happen. So here I am. This is like olive green, believe it or not. Like a diluted olive green into my sky. And I was like, okay. And why did I do that? I don't know. Something caught my eye, and I was like, I want to add a little bit more to the sky. And as you see, I'm adding a whole lot more to the sky. And, looking back when I was painting this, I was not happy with that. I was like, that's just way too much for me, for myself. For you, it may be different. So, what do? Well, you lift the paint, okay? You lift the paint, and that's what I did with the paper towel, a little piece there. And it still leaves some of that green in there. Okay, so yeah, I didn't want to torture you with the whole video. I dressed it up pretty much, and now I'm using the fan brush, and I'm still using olive green here. Now, I know that olive green isn't available everywhere. It's, hard to find. But you can make your own greens. It's just a dark green. It's a bland green. And I'm just putting some leaves on there. Now, you don't have to use green, olive green. You can use oranges or whatever. And I was looking at it here, and I was like, okay, that's nice, but I want to put a little bit of flavor in here. What's flavor? Well, to me, flavor is color. Flavor. It's color. Flavors, like, is it juicy? Is it tasty? Is it no? Is it bland? I want to put a little bit of flavor in here. So I put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. And again, the way that you direct your lines and such, create that hill effect, mounds and whatever. And basically I'm just throwing colors back and forth here. So I'm going to add a few birds here with this watercolor brush pen. Thank you so much for viewing.